and then we'll get started. Okay, so good morning, and let me share my screen first as a quick introduction of just one or two slides that I have to share with you, and then we'll get started with our teacher panel this morning. I just wanted to remind all of us about the mission, because the mission is what has guided our focus on a full immersion program. We really want our students to have the knowledge, skills, and character to become meaningful global contributors and citizens of the world. And this is really why we have chosen to be a full immersion. So starting in preschool, we are either 100% with the twos or 90%. And you'll see that as I show you the next slide, because we know that that's what provides the best biliteracy. And we also know that that's what makes our children smarter in terms of the cognitive benefits, having that full immersive experience. And I think that our students have wonderful character development because they're exposed to teachers from diverse cultures. It gives them an understanding of other perspectives that I think is really unique in schools that are in the United States here. I wanted to explain that we've been around for 16 years, and we have developed a curriculum that starts in preschool and goes up through middle school for an immersion program, which in the New York area is unique. Our preschool, as I mentioned, these numbers represent the percentage of time in the target language, so 100% for twos and 90% in Spanish or Mandarin for the threes and fours, and then 10% in English. And you see in elementary, kindergarten, and first grade, it's an 80-20, so 80% in Mandarin or Spanish and 20% in English. And then a 70-30 in second and third grade, and then by fourth and fifth, it's more like a 50-50. When we get to middle school is when it shifts and we have more time in English. We still do the language arts and the humanities, social studies in Mandarin or Spanish, but we shift to having science and math taught only in English. And this is the content is getting more complex, and we really want to prepare our students for what will most likely be a monolingual school that they will graduate and go off to high school. So with that, each of our teachers is prepared to introduce themselves and share with you some things that they're learning. I'm so proud of our teachers. We'll start with our Spanish teacher, Marianne Salazar.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Marianne Salazar. I am the head teacher for preschool and Spanish. I'm happy to say this is my second year here in Hudson Way Immersion School. I have a bachelor degree in communication, and I recently finished my master at teaching Spanish as a second language. So today I would like to talk about how the students learn the language. So in this program, as it's an immersion, the students learn by doing with their hands on. It's about the experience. The students, they are so young, the reproduction of the language takes a little bit, but when they do what they are learning, immediately they understand. So today I would like to show you how this month, on October, we celebrate the Hispanic Month. And I'm originally from Caracas, Venezuela. So we celebrate the Mexican culture. So I'm going to show you how we celebrate that culture and how the students learn the vocabulary. I'm going to share screen. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm going to share again. Okay. So this is a project that we made for 2 weeks. We were talking about Mexico. They learned where is Mexico, if we have to take a plane to go there, if we can go there walking. And we talk about the colors of the flag. And for this activity, they made sombreros, hat, very typically from Mexico, and they did it by themselves. One of the other things that they made was also ponchos, which is very popular in Mexico, and they were super excited to wear that poncho. And also they expressed, how can I get out to my house? I would love to show my mommy what I did. And it is very funny because they made it and they learn about the color, they made about the size, they learned vocabulary about the shapes that they made inside it. And finally, on Friday, my class, we have cooking class. They love it. So every Friday, we have different recipes. So connecting with the celebration of our culture, of the Mexican culture, I prepare, and well, this is the final project. We also made piñatas, which is very popular in Mexico. They were very excited for because on November and December, most of the students celebrate their birthday. So when they were talking about piñatas too, if they're gonna have a piñatas, if they're gonna decorate their own. So it was very funny. As I said, this project took us like for 2 weeks to finish. And talking about the cooking classes, I made a special class and they prepared tacos by themselves. So they learn about the vocabulary of the ingredients, if they like it, if they not, how to prepare tacos. Some of the students, they heard about tacos, but they never tried it before. So it was very excited because they made it by themselves. And I heard some of the comments, they said, oh, I'm gonna ask my mom to buy that because I'm gonna do it at home. And especially now on December, that class was so engaged for them that they still talk about it. And now when they have lunch, they talk about salsa picante, which is a spicy sauce. They ask each other, oh, do you like salsa picante? ¿Te gusta salsa picante? So it's very funny how they learn by doing. When you gave an experience at so young age, they are extremely engaged and they keep them. So that is the way that I teach the language and how I share also the culture in my classroom.
Thank you so much, Marianne. It's wonderful when I get to see those children and I'm in progress that even some students who just started this year with no Spanish are speaking in full sentences. I'm really amazed. Okay, we're going to move to Mandarin now, and Shuangye, who is our pre-K teacher.
Hi everyone, my name is Shuang Ye. I'm the pre-K Mandarin teacher. Today I'm going to discuss how we develop learning within a unit. So first I'm going to share this unit web. At the beginning of starting a new unit, our preschool team will have a meeting to discuss and brainstorm all the topics and essential questions in a unit. This unit web contains all the ideas and content we will teach in a new unit. Then preschool teachers will modify this web according to the student age levels they teach. This is our current unit light, and I'm going to share our previous unit community. This is the anticipated web I made for our last unit community. Within each section, we expand essential questions and designed activities that focus on essential questions. One of our focus is the restaurant. So we planned to build a restaurant in our classroom. This objective contains social study, language and literacy, math, and art. For art, we asked students to decorate a restaurant wall, which use paint and tissue papers. Through this activity, students can improve their creativity, practice hand-eye coordination, and fine motor skills. And for social study, we have two activities. One is making a menu. Students learn how to make a dish with toy food and take pictures with an iPad. Then I will print all the pictures to organize their dishes to be a menu. And the second activity is vote. Students learn how to vote for a restaurant name so they can understand decision making and how their decision impact the whole group. We also have the language and the literacy class. I teach students the conversations in the restaurant between different characters. I provide them the sentence structure, such as I want to order something and how can I help you in Mandarin. So we do whole group practice, peer practice, and one-on-one practice. So when they also use the menu they make to do a dramatic play in the restaurant. We also have a math activity. Students learn how to recognize numbers on cash. They also set a price for the dishes they make on the menu. So after we make this restaurant, they can do dramatic play in the classroom with the knowledge they acquired in this whole unit. That this is how this is one of our focus. And for the each, as I said in our community unit, so for the each section we have different essential questions. Surrounding the essential questions, we teach class on different subjects. And students, I also showed them the real menu in the restaurant, and they were so excited. They're like, I saw this in a restaurant. Now I also asked them to go to a real restaurant, use the menu to order.
That's great. I love Shrange and Marianne, how flexible the creative curriculum, the 6-week unit, enables you to cater to the students' interest and go deeper, but also have a very integrated structure for bringing in concepts like money, physics, the cooking and all math, and so many different concepts in a really fun and engaging way. Okay. We're going to move now to elementary, and where they've developed a great foundation now in understanding the language. And by the way, everything is 100% in Spanish or Mandarin while they're with their target language teachers. And this is enabling them now to really learn academic content in elementary school in the target language. And we teach all of the subjects in the target language beginning in kindergarten. So that means math, science, social studies, and language arts. And then we also teach language arts and English, of course, in kindergarten. So I'm going to turn it over to Ying Yang, who is our head Mandarin teacher for kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Hi, everyone. My name is Ying Yang, and I'm the Mandarin head teacher in HWIS. Mandarin kindergarten head teacher in Hassanwei. It's my 4th year in HWIS, and I enjoy every day here with my students and my colleagues. I taught pre-K, and now this year I teach kindergarten. So today I'm gonna talk about how we help our kindergarten students to develop reading and writing skills. Can you all see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
So kindergarten, it's a very important stage where our students transit from preschool to elementary setting. It's the time where we encourage them to be more independent, and also it's a very important stage to help them build their fundamental reading and writing skills. So for reading, for Mandarin, we have better immersion curriculum as our Mandarin language arts curriculum. So for reading, usually we have, for each unit, we have 2 or 3 readers focus on different themes. So for example, here we have a reader about like, what's your favorite fruit? So usually the teacher, during the lesson, the teacher will start to read the book to the students first. I will encourage my students to pay attention to the illustration to help them understand the content of the book. And then after I read to the students, I will encourage my students to read after me. And then after the read aloud together, every morning, we will encourage our students to read either with their friends or read independently. So they will feel more motivated when they're reading with their friends. And we also encourage them to build a very important reading habit of pointing to each Mandarin character while they're reading. That really helps them to build a connection between each character to the pronunciation of the character, just like my students are doing here, like they're pointing to each Chinese character while they're reading. And then another important part of helping our students to become like more fluent readers, and also help them to comprehend the content better, is to help them build a large vocabulary. So right here, we do a lot of interesting games to help our students get familiar with the important vocabulary, because I really believe the interest is the best teacher. I want my students, they really enjoy learning. They are eager to learn, then I think that way they will learn the best. So for my young students, I always design lots of games to help them learn and get familiar with the characters, and also gives them opportunity to also move around the classroom to relax their body. So right here, my students is doing a body bingo game. So one student will put 5 word cards on the carpet. The word cards include, like on each card, there is the important Chinese characters we've been learning. And then the other students will every time say one important character. And then the students right here, she's trying to use part of her body to cover the correct character cards. And then eventually she needs to use her body to cover 5 character cards at the same time. So my students really like that game. And then for writing, because Chinese characters is not, I would say it's not a very easy characters for people to learn how to write. So I think it's especially important for our students to love and interested to do it. So Chinese characters are formed by different strokes, as you can see here. So we start teaching our students to do writing from start to teach them each Chinese character stroke. And as you can see here, like a small arrow, it shows you the direction of writing each character stroke. So when we teach our students to do the Chinese character stroke, for example, here, I try to connect it with the pictures because I think it will help our students to understand it better. So for example, here, for this one, it's called Dian. For this stroke, I would draw a picture and tell my students it's look like the raindrops. And then for this one, I would teach my student, I would draw a tree and teach them, okay, so this is called shu. And it sounds like, because it has the same pronunciation of tree in Chinese character. So I would tell them, okay, it looks like the trunk of the tree. And then this PA looks like a slide. So to make it like more fun and more interesting for our students to learn, but it's also very important for our students to understand writing Chinese character. It's not like drawing. It has certain direction they need to follow to write a character. So after the students, they learn those basic important Chinese character strokes, they start to use those strokes to build the Chinese character. So for here, one of my students is using the Play-Doh to make the Chinese characters. It's the strokes here, and then this it's 4, it means 4 in Chinese, and then this one, it means 5 in Chinese. And then after they learn more Chinese characters, I also ask them to write a Chinese character and then also draw the picture to show the meaning of the character. So right here, this means 1. So my student draw 1 flower and this means 2. So she drew 2 flowers. After this activity helps me understand whether they really understand the meaning of the Chinese character. And then after this activity, we start to encourage our students to draw pictures. And then one very important way to help our students to start learn to write is to do labeling. I know our Spanish teacher also asked the students to do the labeling very often. So for example, here, my students drew a picture of their family, and then he labeled, this is the student, this is his baby brother, and then his mom and his dad. I know that our Spanish teacher also do that very often. And then another way, I think, to really motivate our students to learn to write and be interested in writing is to give them purpose to write. So for example, here it's an activity we did during the Thanksgiving where we ask our students to make a thank you card for the person they want to thank. So right here, one of my students, they cut this beautiful heart, and then he made this card for his mom. He wrote, I thank my mom for cooking for me. So this is through these activities, you can see how our students, they start from learning the Chinese strokes, Chinese character strokes, and then they start to learn the Chinese character, and then start to use the short terms to label their writing and drawing, and then to right here, they can write like a full sentence. And then by the end of the school year, my students, they can write like a short paragraph of the writing to like do a animal story about animals, or like a story about like interesting things they did on one day. So this is how we develop their reading and writing skills in early elementary. Thank you.
Great. Even in a few months, you see the progression from writing a few strokes to writing labeling. That's really amazing. Some of those characters are not the easiest. All right, Mandy. Now we're going to skip over to second grade so we can see what that looks like in terms of progression of learning.
Hi everyone. My name is Mandy. I'm the second grade Mandarin teacher. So I have been HWIS for 3 years now, and also both of my kids are here in HWIS. Today I want to share with you how we engage our student in the learning. Since HWIS is a small community, we have a small group of class. So it's very student-centered and project-based centered. I will talk on different subjects so you can have an idea about how we do student-centered learning, project-based learning, and how we differentiate in the classroom. So for Mandarin, the Mandarin language arts, we do, I do, you do, and we do. So since we have a small class, so usually after the I do part, which is I teach, I will give them group activities. So sometimes I will put the student with same like level together to work on a project. And sometimes I will mix the level of the student to do one project based on the different projects. So for example, in talk about Chinese character, like so like in second grade, when we learn about character, we will ask them to use the character to make a vocabulary and use that character to make a sentence. So this time I won't teach them, I will ask them to work in groups. They're gonna brainstorm together and come up with the vocabulary and sentence. So after that, the student can share what they wrote and taught other students what they wrote. So it's very engaging activity. Sometimes when we were learning grammar, like I think it's never too old for students to play game. As Ying says, she used a lot of game activity in her class. I also asked my student to play games to learn Chinese grammar. So I'll share some picture with you so it's easier to see their activities in the classroom. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so this is the folder I share with my parents twice a week. So here in this picture, they were like communicating with each other to see what's the sentence on their cards and trying to get to find, oh, whose cards should be put together to make a whole sentence. So this is one like gaming activity we do for our Mandarin language class. And for grouping, like so this is also like they have to work together to come up with some like sentence for the new new character we learned. So we do a lot of different grouping every class. Okay, I'll share with you some other picture when I talk about social studies. So for math, it's the same, like we do, I do, we do, you do. And during the we do part, like student will come up with different ways to solve a math question. I think math is not only like practice, but like invention. Like sometimes I also ask them to invent like question for other students to solve. So students feel more engaged and they participate very well. And for social study, like we also do student-centered, like this unit, we talk about community now and then. It's kind of very similar like to what in talk about in kindergarten class. So when we were doing the unit, Miss Irina, if you don't mind, I'll do a little spoiler as well. So both Mandarin teacher and English teacher, we work together to do the unit. And in my class, we talk about school now and before. So in my class, I asked the student to try to use the Chinese calligraphy brush, the Maobi, to write it, to try to not only learn but experience like how's the school look like before. Also, Miss Irina had them to make paper by themselves and use quill, like another different like way they used to write before. So I think students are very engaged in this learning activity. And also since we have a small classroom, so like students get a lot of time to share their opinion, like brainstorm with this discussion, like how school will be look like in the future. Students come up with brilliant ideas. Some say like, oh, like we might not have a teacher anymore. We may have robots, and we may have like VR, like to put on our eyes, and we might don't need to learn language. We might need to learn how to fly. I say, wow, this is brilliant. So it's a very, student-centered classroom. Yeah, and then for science, and it's almost like hands-on activities, and so students are working like their own project and explore like the things we mentioned in science classroom. Yeah, that's what I want to share with you today. Thank you. Oh, Sharon, you asked you.
Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mandy. It's wonderful that the collaboration between the target language teacher and the English teacher. We want to talk about that because even though there's less time in English, it is certainly not less important. It is even more important that we make good use of that time, and that's all the planning that goes into ensuring that 1 + 1 = 3. The collaboration of the two teachers is coming up with an even greater synergistic result. So, Irena.
Hello, everyone. My name is Irina, or as Sharon says it absolutely correctly, Irena Mercieri, and I'm the head English teacher for 2nd and 3rd grade. This is my first year at Hudson Way. I have been teaching in New York City public schools, both in the city and in Westchester last year as a literacy and math interventionist, which means that I've worked with students that required additional intervention to improve their literacy, both reading and writing, as well as their math skills to be able to be on grade level by a certain point of the year, which then leads to certain IEPs or special education qualifications. That is my background in childhood education so far, and I'm working on another master's for special education, which will take another year or so. So a lot more to come in expanding my credentials that way. I'm so excited to be joining Hudson Way. It's also my first immersion school experience, which is fascinating. As much as I teach, I learn on a daily basis from my young students as well as my peers. The English time as the students get older grows. So in 2nd and 3rd grade, 30% of their academic time and instructional time is spent in English. That includes English language arts, but as well as an alternating week base for mathematics and social studies. My colleague Mandy shared a little bit of how we collaborate to provide an enriched experience for social studies in 2nd grade, which also occurs in 3rd grade for different topics and units as we alternate. Same happens in math. That gives our students an advantage because they are learning the content area, but they're also building their vocabulary in target language as they get almost a double dose of the information in English. If there was gaps occurring because of language barrier, if they weren't fully engaged or fully understanding Mandarin, depending on their level, they're not missing out on the mathematical content because they get the same amount of time of it in English, which is wonderful. And it aids both students that are upcoming learning Mandarin, as well as those who are fluent to advance their skills. In second grade, we are doing communities then and now, which has been a very interesting unit, especially since it is a Mandarin class. We've learned so much about 2 different cultures, but also all the contributions of the Chinese culture to things like paper, which is what led us to create paper of our own from scratch and fully kind of understand the process of it, to value something as simple as a piece of paper. Once students were able to see how much resources were put into paper making, the gallons of water that we used, and the man hours, and it was challenging for them to do it by hand, to be able to make the mulch and like squishing it down. Now we have this burst of energy and love of recycling more than we ever did before. And every little scrap of paper is potentially a new piece of paper in our classroom, which is fascinating. Although they are older than kindergarten and first grade, they are just as easily fascinated and immersed with hands-on experiences. And you still see a lot of that happening in second grade, as well as third. Not as much when it comes to reading or writing, because this is where we have to focus, and it's more of a second graders are growing and third graders are rolling up their sleeves to tackle hard words in the English language. Compared to Mandarin, it may appear that English is a simpler language to learn, but because of our immersion program, these students are excelling so quickly in their target languages, and now catching up in English as well. They have a lot of work coming, as they get older, to prepare them for a potentially monolingual high school experience. So we do focus a lot of the academics of English. We are working on writing and composing stories, starting with narrative writing in the beginning of the school year for both second and third. Then we transition to informational writing, and that we spend quite some time doing and giving students enough time to engage with nonfiction text and to read with purpose, as well as to take what they are learning and produce writing pieces. We start the year with building stamina in writing English, and then we transition to learning to edit and revise, and then focus on grammar. In the second and third grade, students come prepared with a strong phonics background from first grade, having English as part of their day. So when they arrive in second grade, they are ready to write. They are almost all reading fluently at that point, because they also have the advantage that English is a language they speak daily here in the US, unlike some of their target language, which is not always their language at home. So they are prepared in speech, and now we're trying to hone those skills into writing and focus on building word banks, a lot of vocabulary expansion, and their ability to sit with focus and stamina to be able to write and compose in English. This week is our publishing week, so we're excited to bring that project to an end and showcase their work. For third grade, social studies takes a completely different turn into civics. So while we explain and explore communities of 100 years ago, what life would have been, in third grade, we're becoming responsible citizens and talking about civics and government. And we're excited to share our first school election next week. We are voting for our third grade class president, which is very exciting for them. We've prepared speeches and assemblies and going out to each class to gain votes and understand the process of making choices that benefit others. So our class president has a lot to represent and to speak at. We have school reporters and photographers following them around to share the news of what's going on in the third grade with other classes and documenting the process of the election in our school. Our classes are very small, which is an advantage for our students to have more one-on-one time with their teacher, to work in smaller groups and have the attention that they need as English becomes a larger part of their day. Our biggest class is 10 students in the third grade, which allows for a fantastic learning experience, both from the students and the teachers. I do want to share some highlights from our photo essays that we create for parents on the bi-weekly basis, since our parents are not coming into the classrooms as much as they would have once upon a time. Now we share photo essays and give them a visual representation of what students are creating, what our classrooms look like. So I will show you some of the photo essays for the past few months that we've had. When we started our year, this should show the second and third grade ELA was just creating classroom routines. So we do integrate some parts of what would a full monolingual classroom have. So morning meetings and number talks in the second grade. We do it in a short amount of time to be able to use that 30% of time we have wisely without sacrificing fun components of what makes our day-to-day exciting. We have our daily morning meetings, our daily questions to give the students a warm up and start to acclimate into the classroom. And then we have our read alouds for the day, which are usually linked to a lesson, either social emotional learning or something specific going on in the season or holiday or others. Students then engage in an activity, and we also spend time in our reading center, which is dedicated to book shopping, library time, where they can engage with literature. The best way to learn the English language is exposure to literature, even if they are not yet independent in reading fluently. There's books of different levels, and the students have built a routine of knowing where to find the resources that they need to pack their own little book baggies and bring into the classroom for their independent reading time. And this is what some of that looks like. As the year has gone on, now we have spent much time creating goals and setting ourselves up for success to how to build a reading life even at home. Students are allowed to be taking any books that they wish home to continue daily reading. In November, actually, let's go to October. Students begin to write and engage with their stories in October. As we add more read alouds to our day and they're reading independently, now we're engaging with our books and being able to produce work or talk about our books. And we find fun and creative ways for them to do that. This was an activity around Halloween, guided by a book called Creepy Carrots. As they pull each carrot from a little pocket, it's asking them to do something about the story. So tell me, what happens or who's in it. And each student is able to retell a full story as they're picking out those little carrots as their character was doing in the book, and show that their comprehension skills are growing. We also have authors who read alouds for our classrooms time to time. This is one of our favorite authors who wrote the entire series of The Old Lady Who Swallows some obscure items along the way. And there's a funny ending. So she did a read aloud for us. And around Halloween time, I've had other authors do the same for the third grade and second as well. And we celebrate fun, whimsical holidays, join a Halloween parade, and try to make even a writing part as exciting as it can be, so that young writers can understand their small moments are valued and their lives are filled with small moments that we can write about. We always need writing seeds or story seeds, as they're calling it, to have something to write. Integrate technology into our learning. So students have tech time in class where they can use online book reading like Epic School and Math Playground, which is always fun for them, but also they're improving their technology use skills. We take our learning outdoors on beautiful sunny days with leaf hunts and create projects when we're returning into class, guided by our book. And students were able to do their own projects with leaves that found and bringing the seasons inside. This is one of our bulletin boards. After the second grade conducted a leaf hunt, were able to retell and comprehend their books that we read, and then create their own leaf man with materials that they found in our local park, which we're fortunate to have right next to our school. We still keep phonics, a part of phonics, into the second grade as well. One is to brush up on their skills from first grade, and for the second reason is to take that to the next level and incorporate what they have learned in reading into their writing. spelling is a very important component of their second grade because they're building their sight word repertoire and beginning to spell better. So in third grade, when they're composing long sentences, they're checking themselves and adding more emphasis on grammar and punctuation. This is one of our writing centers. We've integrated English into the classroom instead of pulling out into a separate classroom. So students are exposed to both languages at the same time. And lastly, November, we have a book of the week collection for both second and third grade that is mostly focused on social emotional learning. And where we present the book of the week and engage in an activity after reading a specific book or series, and students produce a work that goes along with it. This is one of my favorites so far. It's a series of 3 books from Peter Reynolds. Each character develops growth mindset through the books that they read, which is very important for our students who are tackling challenging tasks. And this is what they created with their imagination and letting their creativity of I can do it, just not yet, as they work towards something. Social studies took us back in time, as I mentioned. This is some of the activities, and third grade's mayor election coming up. But it shows that our students are working independently and with support to produce proud work that they take home and share with their parents. And this is one of our Thankful Lab books, where they're able to write a full page to a parent or a family member of things that they're thankful for. And although not every word is spelled correctly just yet, to see what they're able to compose is what's impressive. And they're able to do it in both languages fluently. So this was a very proud moment for us as everyone continued to fill up all these pages with their work.
Wow, that is amazing, Irina. How much you're able to pack into to the time that you have.
We have an average of 75 minutes, sometimes 90 minutes a week, or 60, depending on our rotation. But we certainly pack everything that I was able to do last year in one language class into those 90 minutes. So I applaud my students. Although young, they get so much work done. Once they get going, it's kind of hard to keep them from writing. Even when I have to call, like, writing time is over, all I see is like hands in the air, like, no, can I do it at home? Which makes me so proud. But I also know that they have a full other language to focus on. So although we work very hard, I try to limit the amount of work that we do. They are 6. Our second graders are very young. So that's something to keep in mind, that as they get older, if there is a gap in the earlier years between English and the target language, it begins to close gradually as they have more and more time of English language arts in the classroom.
That's great. I'm looking forward to that election this week too.
As am I.
All right, so now we do have some time for questions. I realize it's 12 o'clock, but if we could stay a few more minutes, I'd love to entertain some questions. And feel free to either do it in the chat or just unmute yourselves.
I think I'm going to take this offline because this is obviously early childhood and lower elementary, and my daughter's a little older. So I appreciate like the panelists and listening to, your teaching method and the approach, which is amazing. But I have sent a sort of a contact email query already, so I will be in touch. But this has been terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining, and we will certainly be in touch with you, Glace. Any other questions? Well, if not, we will certainly be in touch with any of you, all of you, individually, because I hope what you've gotten from this is just the passion and the caring that our teachers have in wanting to support our students, each and every one. There is no wasted time in our schools. Our classes are small. We can differentiate, and I'm very proud of both our students and all of our teachers that really put forth their best to make the learning fun and challenging and supportive for all of our students. I want to thank you all for joining, and I want to wish you all a wonderful holiday season. Our applications for next year the deadline is January 14th, but we are taking also applications on a rolling basis after that. Certainly get in touch with Nicole or myself, and we'll help you through that process. Okay? All right. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, guys. See you Monday.